What is the legal side then? Can we just revoke Article 50, as he says?
Yes, in a word.
We can.
We can, yeah. There was an important decision of the Court of Justice in Luxembourg in December in a case called Whiteman, which was a case brought by Scottish MSPs to find out the answer to that question. And the Court of Justice said, yep, Article 50 can be revoked at any stage before 11 o'clock at night on the 29th of March 2019.
Right up to the last minute.
Absolutely, and it's a unilateral decision by the UK. However, the court did impose certain conditions. It said that the decision to revoke must be unequivocal and unconditional, and we've got to give notice to the European Council after the UK has taken a revocation decision in accordance with its own constitutional requirements. $1 million question is, what are our own constitutional requirements? Because we don't have a written constitution, and of course this is absolute virgin territory. Most likely we'd probably have to pass an act of parliament. And as you can imagine, that isn't going to be straightforward. But yes, in principle, Article 50 can be revoked, so that's absolutely possible.
Right, and that's now beyond argument then, subject to those various little requirements. So then what would happen after that? Can we then, if we're following Ken Clark's advice and we're just kind of getting our ducks in a row, can we then say, we've decided to trigger it again?
Well, that's interesting. The Court of Justice didn't discuss that point, but in the Whiteman case, one of the things that the European Commission argued was just that point. Could the UK decide to revoke and then a few months later trigger Article 50 again and sort of do this sort of hokey-cokey action for as long as it suited the UK? The Court of Justice didn't go to discuss that issue, but the Advocate General, which gave an advisory opinion, said the UK has got to act in good faith. So it is at least theoretically possible. We could revoke Article 50 to buy ourselves some more time, get ourselves a bit more sorted, and then trigger Article 50 again.
What about Sorry, go on.
I think the politics of that might be a bit tricky. I think not least because, as we know, any revocation of Article 50 would have to be done through an Act of Parliament. And we saw how bitterly contested the EU Withdrawal Act, that's the act that's going to take us out of the EU, how contested that was throughout the parliamentary process. So you can well imagine how vexed a revocation act would be, a revocation of Article 50 Act would be. And of course it had to be done very quickly because time's running out.
What if it wasn't a revocation but some kind of suspension or an increase of the 2 years, an extra month or 6 weeks or something? Is that possible?
Yeah, suspension isn't provided for at all by Article 50, so the answer to that one is probably no. But there is a third way, and that is that Article 50 can be extended, the period in Article 50 can be extended, and that's actually foreseen by Article 50 itself, but it requires the unanimous agreement of the other 27. And that's thought to be quite difficult, and it's thought that they would only agree to an extension of Article 50 if it was being done for democratic reasons, for example, to give time for a general election or a further referendum.
What about the awkward business of the EU elections, which seem to be rather unfortunately timed, so that if we were to revoke Article 50 or get some kind of delay, we might run into those elections? Would we then be holding elections for MEPs for a parliament that we won't eventually be part of? How would that work?
That's the real problem. So you're right. So we're due to leave on the 29th of March 2019. The European Parliament elections are the weekend of the 23rd to the 26th of May 2019. So any extension that we would be given, assuming all 27 other member states agreed to it, would likely to have to expire before the 23rd of May, because otherwise we would end up in the bizarre situation, just as you said, of having British people going to the polls to elect an MEP who won't be there for very long. And of course, all the UK seats in the European Parliament have already been reallocated. So that's intensely problematic. And as you say, the timing of that couldn't be worse. And so that's why the extension of Article 50 becomes problematic, certainly the extension beyond a few weeks. The other issue, of course, is were we to go down the route of, for example, revoking Article 50, or even trying to seek some long extension on Article 50, and then the British National be able to participate in the European Parliament elections, you could see those elections very quickly turning into a further referendum, or a sort of in and out referendum in the context of the European Parliament. You could see the mess that this will generate.
I've just got a text here, maybe you can answer this one, suggesting that even if we were to revoke Article 50, we've got an Act of Parliament that says we leave on March the 29th. So,
absolutely.
So that would be the law. Wouldn't that law override Article 50?
No. It would. The act that your texter has referred to is the EU Withdrawal Act. That was the one that went so painfully through Parliament in the first half of last year.
Would we have to repeal that?
Yes, absolutely. So that's why it's thought likely there would have to be an Act of Parliament to revoke the Article 50 notification. And indeed, there was an Act of Parliament actually allowing us to trigger Article 50 in the first place. I don't know if you remember, it seems like a million years ago now, the Miller case. And the Miller case said we need an Act of Parliament to trigger Article 50. So it's thought likely we would need an Act of Parliament to unravel the two things that those other Acts of Parliament have already done.
Gosh, what a mess.